Infernape is known for being extremely versatile competitively, and today I'm going to make it go nuts with a move that it seems like no one knows about. Stat-wise, Infernape's a perfect option for a mix attacker with base 104 offenses and a solid 108 speed. So it gets access to a pretty exclusive move called Raging Fury, which is 120 power fire-type outrage. We can first double our attack with Swords Dance, and throw in a little Terra Fire for an even bigger boost. Now we click Raging Fury and pretty much delete everything. After the Rampage, we do become confused, but then it's time to just pop a Lumberry, which immediately cures it, and this even allows us to now have 110 power acrobatics if needed. Its ability Iron Fist is able to boost up priority stab Mach Punches, and no one's really going to see this kind of damage coming. Look, there's only 4 current Pokemon that get access to Raging Fury, and it really just feels like Infernape's signature move. Buddy is about to go apeshit, and it's actually quite a bit better than I feel like people know about. So if that sounds like some fun to you, you should consider hitting that subscribe button. My goal for this year is to hit 400k subs, and you can help me out. Now with that, let's go ahead and jump into the match. Alright, so my opponent is going to lead off with at least what I think to be a Metal Rolling Elephant. Now of course they do have a Hisuian Zoroark on the squad, so I imagine it might actually end up being that thing, and I'm just a Slug who's here to set up my Stealth Rock now. As they go for a U-turn, that does indeed confirm that it was the Zoroark. Now, it's actually important I do get the Rocky Helmet chip there, because if it's Focus Sash, then that's pretty good. So, they now decide to bring in the white girl with the booty. Blissey comes in, showing off the egg out here for free, and I get up my Stealth Rock. So, in this situation, Blissey is probably here to set up Stealth Rock of their own. I, of course, cannot touch it because, you know, I'm a Gastrodon with only special attacks, and I realize now's actually a pretty good time to bring in Infernape. First of all, they're probably not going to go for a Thunder Wave, you know, versus the Gastrodon here, so I don't have to worry about that. But if they do, I'm Lumberry anyway. So I come in, they do go for that Stealth Rock, which is fine. But most importantly, Infernape kind of forces Blissey out at this point. This thing does not want to get close combated, which I don't even have. But I'll tell you what I do have that's even worse for you is some swords. And listen, the last thing that you want a flaming armored monkey to be playing with is some sharp ass swords. So as they switch, I'm gonna go for that Swords Dance. They end up bringing in the Okie Dokie. Thing is just sticking its tongue out at me, but now after a Swords Dance, we're looking pretty good here. It's a kind of a Rise of the Planet of the Apes situation, and it's time to go ape shit. So Okie Dokie is a pretty decently bulky fella, but after a Swords Dance, I'm thinking a Raging Fury after a Terra boost should do a lot of damage, and I don't imagine this thing lives, so I am gonna bust out that Terra just to increase damage that much further, and with the chandelier on my head, we're looking even more ridiculous. So Raging Fury is not something people expect. You know, coverage in terms of fire moves on Infernape kind of limits itself to something like Overheat, potentially Flare Blitz, but a Raging Fury, essentially a fire type outrage, is actually insane. That is going to delete the Okie Dokie, and now here's a good thing. We obviously take care of the Okie Dokie, which is a threat. We are now locked into Raging Fury for the next couple of turns until we get confused here. So they now decide to bring in the Galarian Moltres. I don't even have to click a move here, I just let the game do its thing. We're locked into Raging Fury. I am faster after a Swords Dance and a Terra Boost. That is some fried chicken over there, and that is some dead fried chicken at least. That takes care of the Galarian Moltres, and that's pretty good. So now here's the thing. The downside of the Raging Fury comes through. We now get confused due to fatigue. We've been out here whipping so much ass that we're just confused. But luckily we got the built-in Lumberry, snaps us out of our confusion, and now we're just got another one locked and loaded. So here's the thing, they decide to go into the Iron Treads, and judging by the fact that it has some damage on it already, I know that that's the Hisuian Zoroark. As much as I want to Mach Punch it, I am forced to go for another Raging Fury. Now, they do outspeed because that thing is quicker, and as they go for that Bitter Malice, it also drops my attack. So now we're just sitting at +1, which is more than enough, because we get that Raging Fury off, and just knowing that this is the Zoroark, that's going to destroy it. So that takes care of this damn imposter, and that's pretty solid, because that was kind of the one thing that is in fact faster than the ape here. So at this point, we are once again locked into Raging Fury, which is fine, because that's what we're trying to get ourselves into today anyway. And as they now bring in the Vileplume, generally a pretty defensive fella, I imagine if anything they have to go for a defensive Terra here, and that's exactly what they're going to do. And I'm thinking at +1 attack, there's still a chance, as long as if it's not resisted, we can still get a kill here. So they actually end up going for the Terra Poison, which I'm like, hey, hold on a second, this could actually potentially kill here. We're at +1, we've got the boost from the Terra Fire. As we get through that, we bust out the Raging Fury, and sadly it lives it with like 10 HP. Now that does suck, but they actually now go for the Strength Sap. The good thing about Vileplume in this situation is its best damage probably would have been something like a Sludge Bomb, especially with the Terra boost, it would have knocked me out. But they actually end up busting out the Strength Sap, which is fine with me, brings me back down to neutral. And moral of the story, I'm trying to get as much chip on this thing as I can before Ape kind of goes down. We're a glass cannon situation where we're getting a lot of value, just breaking stuff down. And as that comes through, we do get confused once again. So we're just double confused, but they actually end up now going for the Leech Seed. So we're seeded and not killed. So that's actually, it's a better thing to be than dead. So I'm like, that's kind of fine. I get Leech Seeded. This thing's a Strength Sap, Leech Seed set. Probably fully physically defensive, and this thing is just an absolute asshole. But at this point, I'm continuing to go for Raging Furies because it's fun, and if we break through, we actually grab a kill there. So they actually end up swapping. They're going to bring in Blissey, and here's the thing. I should be able to get a huge amount of damage off if I can land the attack, but I am confused, so I'm like, come on. And we hit ourselves because, of course. Now, it knocks me down to 11, which I'm like, hey, I lived. But then I realized, yeah, the Leech Seed is going to come through and ruin my life. So while, you know, the Blissey is going to stick around, Infernape dies to the Leech Seed. And now we're in a spot where we did do a ton with the Ape. We broke enough holes in the squad where we should be able to pull this one back. So down goes Infernape. My Terra goes with it. We did force their defensive Terra as well, so there's no secrets they can have hiding in the back. And now we gotta just clean up a bit. So one good thing is, you know, a free matchup into a Blissey is a good situation to just go right into Arcanine. I can, you know, threaten this thing out with physical moves. What they've got left is going to be that Vileplume along with the actual Iron Treads in the back. So I actually decided to go for the Head Smash. I'm thinking they probably maybe stay in there and try to Thunder Wave me, and I just wanted as much damage as possible, so I click Head Smash. Turns out as this roly-poly asshole comes in, I probably should have just clicked the Flare Blades because Head Smash comes through. And while I'm not Choice Scarf, I am actually slower than if this thing is max speed. So I'm thinking maybe it's not max speed. I'm going to go for that Flare Blitz, but it is quicker. Goes for that Earthquake, and that is, you know, I'm allergic as hell to the ground because we are firing good in rock types. That takes care of the Arcanine there. A little bit of a misplay on my end. Should have clicked Flare Blitz, but, you know, it is what it is. I still have a lot of threats left. And at this point, one guy that can at least handle it a little bit is going to be Altaria. You know, Altaria, this thing is sick as hell. If you missed the Altaria video, you should definitely go check that out. Thing is really fun. But also, I know I should be able to take one attack from this freaking futuristic Donphan. So they actually end up going for the Rapid Spin, which is going to give them a speed boost and get rid of my Stealth Rock. But more importantly, with their speed boost, they're not going to be faster than Altaria. So if they have any type of coverage here, I'm actually in a bad spot as a Cloudy Dragon. But I realized, you know, after some leftovers, there's a pretty good chance that this thing doesn't have much that it can hit me with. So I'm just going to click Earthquake, and moral of the story, I'm trying to get Altaria to kind of come in here and clean up a bit. Call this buddy the Janitor. So they go for that Volt Switch. That's actually perfect. Doesn't do much to me. Obviously, specially defensive, doesn't do anything. And now, nothing they have really wants to deal with an Earthquake, of course. So first, they decide to go back into Vileplume. Luckily for us, this thing did tear it into just pure poison, so now Earthquake is super effective. And after a Dragon Dance, that's going to take care of it. So also the good thing about that swap is that with me having a Dragon Dance, I am faster than their Treads still. So Altaria coming in with a little late game action. This thing is so much fun. You know, the bad part is it's like they gave it a little bit of love that one time they gave it a Mega, and then ever since then, nobody knows that Altaria even exists. So that's what I'm here for. Anyway, they go back into the Treads here. Good thing for us, we outspeed with an Earthquake and should be able to knock it out, but they're actually just going to head out. So that is going to be the end of the match on that one. Honestly, super fun game. Clicking Raging Fury sometimes is just a mash A simulator that does a ton of damage, and that's what we're all about. So with that, that's going to bring us into game number 2. And if you've stuck around this far into the video and you're enjoying it, you should hit that like button. It helps out the channel. I say that every time. I don't really know if it does, but give it a try anyway. You know, it surely can't hurt. And now, let's get into the next match. Alright, so this time, an important note. My opponent also has a Hisuian Zoroark here. So as they lead off with the Raichu, my Donphan is thinking that may actually, in fact, not be a Raichu. If it is, I'm in danger of being surfed, and that should be fine because, you know, I'm sturdy anyway. So I'm just going to set up my Stealth Rock like a good roly boy, as they actually end up going for the Nasty Plot. Now, that doesn't tell me anything. It actually still could be the Zoroark there because they both Nasty Plot. But honestly, seeing Nasty Plot turn 1 is actually fine with me because I am red card. So as they knock me down to my sturdy, if they touch me, they're just going to have to be forced to switch out. So the knockoff is my best play. Now, they do actually go for the Surf, so I get Cowabungadon, but, I mean, that tells me it is actually, in fact, the Raichu. So I endure the hit. That then activates the red card, which is sweet, because that's going to force a random, you know, team member to come in here and take a knockoff, which is always good, getting rid of a random item. And it does actually turn out to be the Superior. So Serperior, obviously a natural predator of Donphan, but as this thing comes in, I do at least get that knockoff, does a nice little chunk of damage, and also gets rid of a Miracle Seed. So I'm kind of in a spot here where I should probably swap here. Donphan could be a nice little Death Fodder switch. Also, Serperior is a pretty predictable fella. This thing is just going to click Leaf Storm, and that's pretty much what Buddy does. So this actually opens the door a decent bit for me to bring in big meaty claws. Now they go for that Leaf Storm, does pretty much nothing, but also it gets a +2 boost to that special attack. So I'm thinking, listen, I'm going to go for a Bug Buzz. You've probably never seen a Scizor use Bug Buzz, and that's because it's stupid as hell, but I'm doing it anyway. And here's the thing, they actually stay in, they go for another Leaf Storm. After the boost knocks me down near half, but then I get that Bug Buzz off, which not only kills their Serperior, but also activates a little Throat Spray action. And yes, I am a special attacking Scizor just to see if I can somehow get this thing to work, man. I don't know. But I get that +1, and I'm thinking, hey, all right, at least I got it up. I took a minimal damage, but the problem is that then lures in the Cinderace. Now, I have a couple options here. First of all, I could potentially go for my Terra Fighting, not only boosting a Technician Vacuum Wave, but also making myself not die to a Fire move. But I figure it's probably not worth it. The juice ain't worth the squeeze. So I go for that Vacuum Wave just to get some chip there, and they do finish me off with a Flame Charge, which, you know, now sets this thing at +1 speed, and it's a bit scary, but here's the thing. I'm not necessarily super mad at it. I actually realized that Infernape has a great swap in here, just because it's kind of a setup option for Swords Dance. If anything I can get this thing to Swords Dance in front of is a good time. So they do outspeed because obviously they're faster, which allows them to go for a court change. And they do put the Stealth Rock on my side, but honestly, that feels kind of like a win of a turn for me, because now I get a Swords Dance up for free. Not only that, but it changes its type to normal. So now it's a normal type Cinderace, and I have priority with the Mach Punch. It is Iron Fist boosted, and with a Swords Dance that is going to Mach Punch this thing into next Thursday, and that is a dead Cinderace. So Infernape, once again, is set up to the point where, you know, I have my +2 attack. I have not taken any damage, and it's once again time to go apeshit. But so look, as they bring in Baxcalibur, playing around the situation where they have a Hisuian Zoroark, bust my balls. Because, first of all, there's no Stealth Rock to be able to tell if this thing is that Zoroark. And I imagine it probably is. If it's not the Hisuian Zoroark and it is Baxcalibur, there's always the chance that they go for a Ghost Terra, and they then don't worry about my Mach Punch. So expecting this thing to either go for a Ghost Terra or just be the Ghost type Zoroark, I'm, instead of going for Mach Punch, gonna just go for Raging Fury. And the good thing is, with that Terra Fire, we boost that damage even further after the Swords Dance. And there is not much that wants to take a Raging Fury, except for the fact if you have a damn Focus Sash, which of course it does. So it hangs on with that Focus Sash, tells me it is instead gonna be that Zoroark. So luckily I didn't click Mach Punch. And they were probably really banking on me clicking that Mach Punch, because they are actually going to end up going for the Nasty Plot, which is perfect because I am faster. And while, you know, I'm just over here locked into Raging Fury, we get to see what they want to do. There's not really much in terms of swaps they can do into this, so they just decide to stay in, and that Zoroark has been bamboozled. Usually the Zoroark's the guy that's bamboozling you, but I come out on top today, which is always good. So here's the thing, I now get confused. The rubber duckies appear that you can barely see because my damn chandelier on my head, but that's fine because I've got myself a little snack. I popped a Lumberry, snap out of it, and yeah, we're pretty much, honestly, Infernape's still in a really good spot. So they go into Baxcalibur, the real one this time, and I'm thinking surely this thing, they know the Mach Punch just ruins them, so they definitely are gonna go for a Terra here. I'm thinking it's probably just gonna be that Ghost Terra, and as much as I want to click the Mach Punch, I'm just going to go for the Raging Fury. There's not really much to worry about. This Infernape, you just kind of mash A on stuff. It's honestly, it's actually pretty lit. So they do go for a defensive Terra. Not going to be the Ghost, it's actually going to be Terra Ground. So Buddy puts the Bowl Cut on, looking fresh as hell, and that would give it a nice little chance to live a Mach Punch. But luckily for us, we're just Raging Furying again, and we are just locking ourselves in. Honestly, the animation kind of goes crazy for this as well. And that's just a clean one-hit KO. Infernape, just Oko stuff. So down goes Baxcalibur, doesn't even get a chance to go for like a Thermal Exchange or whatever the hell this thing's ability is. And that's pretty lit. So at this point, the one Mon they do have that is faster than Infernape is actually going to be the Raichu here. Now, as this thing comes in, it is able to go for that Surf. Me being Fire type, it is super effective, but luckily it's not stab for them, so I'm barely able to hang on, which is insane. And now I can fire off another Raging Fury, and I'm like, oh hell yeah. But it's actually Focus Sash. Buddy's got the double Focus Sash, which is diabolical, honestly. It lives it, and I was really hoping to be confused there for me to roll a chance to go for a priority Mach Punch, but it doesn't happen, and they just finish me with another Surf. So down goes the Ape, but not before we absolutely just ruined the squad, and hell yeah. So at this point, they've got 2 Mons left. It's obviously going to be the Raichu, along with in the back, they have a Sylveon. So I decided my best bet to switch into the Raichu is going to be freaking Winston over here. I'm going to bring the Zarude in. I honestly forgot that this thing existed, so I was like, I'm going to toss his ass on a team. But the good thing is, I know I can take any attack Raichu wants to throw at me, go for a knockoff. If they want to swap into Sylveon, it's still going to get rid of an item and should be fine. But they actually just go for the T-Bolt for some chip. Knockoff is then going to be able to take care of the Raichu. And now, all we have to do is get through a Sylveon. Depending on what type of Sylveon it is, it could be a little bit of a deal breaker. But after some leftovers, we're over here swinging our arms, ready to just smack some fairies. So in comes the Skin Ribbons. And Sylveon is in a spot where it can definitely knock me out with a fairy coverage, but my best bet is to just get as much damage as I can with a Power Whip. And luckily we actually connect, so we whip him, extra kinky-like, and they actually end up going for the Reflect. So it's going to be more of a support Sylveon, likely just going to be Light Clay. And while they get up that Reflect, it's going to boost that physical defense, but at this point, if I connect on another Power Whip, we've done enough damage to where it should probably kill. And it's actually not Light Clay, I lied. It's going to be leftovers because we see him over there eating his little apple, so I'm just going to be like, hey, Zarude, just don't fuck around here. Let's finish it with the Power Whip. You can connect. We do actually land it, and that's going to be a dead Sylveon. So that is going to be the end of the match, but that was an interesting match as well. Honestly, this Infernape kind of goes hard. So, I mean, sometimes you just got to click Raging Fury and lock yourself into the damage and see how it goes. And as always, thank you guys very much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.